this present crisis in Libya with the Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi, the fake Pan-Africanist, actually a covert fascist, continuing Mussolini and the evil doers, the fascist policies in Arab face or in so-called African face and black disguise, so forth and so on. I mean, what's currently happening in Libya is an ideal opportunity for Barack Obama and for his administration to consider implementing the AFRICOM. You understand? An AFRICOM under or alongside the African Union as a support for the African Union and various pro-African peacemaking efforts on the continent. And this would be a perfect and ideal time for AFRICOM to really step in. They keep talking, well, potentially there may be some military intervention. Well, why not AFRICOM? I mean, AFRICOM even has a black man, an African American, currently at the head of AFRICOM as the commander of the African Command. And I think this is a perfect ideal situation. They said the chief Libyan court justice has announced that Muammar Gaddafi, that Gaddafi still has chemical and biological weapons. Now, tell me, why would a pro-African leader, you understand, a real pan-African leader, have in his arsenal chemical and biological weapons? What is the purpose of that when we see that the last time we hear about chemical and biological weapons in Africa in a truly devastating way was the fascist invasion of Ethiopia, of imperial and Judeo-Christian Ethiopia by Benito Mussolini. So when we made that link between Libya and Italy and Gaddafi and Mussolini, it's every day more and more information that was suppressed is beginning to come out and to really prove exactly what we're saying to be right and exact and true. You understand? I mean, besides even that, when we mentioned about the flag, about the original flag of Libya was actually the red, black, and green. Just like over here in the West, it was red, black, and green. You see that link between the red, black, and green? And now those in the East, the Benghazi, or should we say Ben Aghazi, but the Benghazi tribe in the East, which is warring against Gaddafi and his tribe in the West, his tribe, Gaddafi's tribe, which formerly have ruled, they said, since 1760 something or 1780 something, that the Benghazi tribe, or those who are seeking to oust and pushed out Gaddafi's 40-year dictatorship and tyranny, they now are raising the original flag again, red, black, and green. If these points are not proof positive that Gaddafi is a so-called fake pan-African leader, and many of us, and I say us, not just y'all, but us, many of us have been duped, many of us have been lied to, and many of us have been deceived for decades concerning the true nature, the motivation, the intent, and the involvement of Gaddafi. I mean, he hires Africans. Yeah, he gives money to Africans to be mercenaries against some of his Arabs who don't want to submit to his rulership. You understand? So he's basically causing confusion, you understand, warfare and bloodshed in Africa for basically no good reason other than his own maniacalness. You understand? So anyway, this just be a good opportunity. We just want to state on the record. Now some would say, well, AFRICOM is trying to take over Africa. Listen, you're African American, right? You're here in America. You go, you vote. You understand? Or you have the opportunity to vote. You're not really planning. Are you planning on repatriating to Africa? You understand, in the next couple of months? No, you're probably going to be over here for maybe a while, maybe all your life. You live in America, you're American, you're African American. So get involved with your government. You understand, so that you can oversee that these things are done justly and democratically. After all, there's an African American president. Many of the key people in his administration are also African Americans, and it doesn't seem as though these African Americans are specifically targeting Black or African American people. You understand? So AFRICOM, it should set out, you understand, as one of its first engagements. It would be ideal for AFRICOM's first engagement to be this Libyan situation. You understand? To be this particular Libyan situation, and with the eyes of the world, with this new media and this ability to spread information through the internet, and to have so-called real-time awareness. We don't have to wait for the news media to decide, well, what stories they want to show people, but the internet still being up and running, it seems to be an ideal opportunity for more of an uncensored, unfiltered perspective to reach the airwaves, to get out there, to be shared and discussed, so wrongs can be highlighted, and if certain good things can be shown, and bad things can also be highlighted as well, putting things more into a globally democratic way. You understand? And since America is supporting people in the third world countries, so-called, to have democratic rights, it's important for us over here to exercise the democratic rights, or to prove that the exercising of our democratic rights are being oppressed. And if so, then we might have calls like the people around the world in other situations, but definitely we shouldn't just be sitting idle and waiting for others to so-called make history, or to speak up about things that we need to speak up for ourselves. So we suggest that AFRICOM be implemented and employed alongside or underneath the authority of the African Union, in particular in this crisis event that is happening in Libya. If it is proven true, and we shouldn't have to wait until chemical and biological weapons are used. You were saying, even against so-called Arab peoples, though we understand some of the history with the Arabs and the Africans have been very racist, have been very much against the Africans' human rights and in favor of the Arabs. When the African and Arab situation has occurred, and even occurs today, we know that there's an inequality there, but still this doesn't justify the using of any type of chemical, biological weapons of mass destruction against any people. You understand? So we shouldn't just wait, and we hope and pray that Obama doesn't, and his administration doesn't just wait until something like this really happens. You understand? Because that would be totally unacceptable. And let's be clear. Let's be clear about this. We do not think that AFRICOM, as a military command and organization, can rightfully serve Africans at home and abroad best interests without the involvement of Africans at home and abroad. So let's be very clear about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. It can cut going in, it can cut coming out. You understand? So let this be like the Battle of Tripoli. You understand? In this new millennium, in this new time, you understand? And show the true goodwill and the true good intent and this change that Obama, the Barakaton of this present time, has been speaking about and campaigning on, and in a sense promising, but giving us hope of change. You know what I'm saying? Change will happen anyway, but it's where we are and what are we doing to make sure that the change is upful, forward, and positive. So this is an ideal opportunity for AFRICOM presently to get involved. We should not wait for other crises to occur. We should not wait for more innocent lives. The number should not have to reach 10,000, you understand, dead. You understand, a real catastrophe for AFRICOM to get involved in such a situation, since there is already the involvement of the African Union in parts of Africa and other situations that threaten the security of Africa and us Africans and other citizens. Anyway, I think that's good enough right there. Ça suffit. Ça suffit. Vas-y, Macron.